Hello, all of you beautiful people, and welcome back or welcome to the Voice of Reality podcast. This is a place where I want to give reality a bit of a platform. I want to keep it real. I want to keep it raw. I want to keep it honest. And most importantly, I want it to be a place where you all feel safe, seen, and heard. How have we all been? I hope things have been well. And if they haven't, always remember that it's never too late to turn that around. This episode is one that I have been waiting to do for so long, so I'm extremely excited about it. And I hope that you take what you need from it as always. If there is ever any questions or anything of the likes, you know that is exactly what I'm here for. And I hope you all enjoy it. So let's get into this one. So, today's episode, we are going to be chatting about our relationship with food, and then we are going to kind of touch on common misconceptions at the end as well. I really want to kind of home in on how important food is and how important your relationship with food is as well in this episode. And it's extremely important that if you have any questions or anything that you're worried about or thinking about, or if anything resonates with you and you need to chat about things, please know that my DMs are always open. Wherever you can find me to get in contact with me, just pop me a message, ask any questions, and I am always here to chat about these things as well. But this one is something that I always find with a lot of my clients, with a lot of girls that are in my DMs, and just in general with growing up in this current climate and in with the current kind of way the world is working at the moment, especially growing up, around females as well. We see it all the time. We see these toxic relationships with food all of the time. So what I want to do is I kind of want to go into it. We want to have a look at what your relationship with food actually is, where it can stem from, and then as well as that, actually emphasizing how important it is and how important food truly is and what it actually is as well to you. Because I think people really misconstrued what food actually is. Like people just see food as this thing of, oh, it either helps you gain weight or lose weight. No, that is false. That is false information. And we're going to be having a look at all of this now as well. So, first thing that we are going to chat about is where it actually stems from. Okay. Your relationship with food, and as we all probably know, will more than likely stem from things years ago. Your childhood, and what we see, what we look at, what we watch, what we hear and listen to, the environments that we're kind of in. And that's not saying that, your family made your relationship with food the way it is, or your friends did, or whoever you grew up looking up to and looking at around you. It's just that you are going to hear things and you might be exposed to things that you don't even realize are playing an effect on your relationship with food or relationship with anything, and playing an effect on your mindset then as well. So, yes, a lot of the time it will stem from like way back when. And anyone that I ever chat to, like when it comes to having a bad mindset towards nutrition or a toxic relationship with nutrition, it is down to something that's actually happened like so long ago, and they just didn't see it trickling and building up, literally. So, a lot of the time it will stem from childhood. For me personally, my relationship with food absolutely stemmed from such a young age. And for me, if no one knows this, I've had an extremely bad relationship with food, probably from the age of about 8. Literally, when I realized what food actually was, kind of how it plays an effect and how you look, when I realized how much of an effect food plays on how you look and your physical appearance, that was when everything changed for me. That was when my relationship turned toxic. That was when I was like, right, let me overanalyze everything that I eat, to make sure that obviously physique wise, I always look good. And that was kind of the turning point for me. So I'd say I was about 8, but I honestly could have been younger. I'm not even sure on that one. And that honestly, my relationship with food fluctuated, chopped, changed up until I was about 24 years old. And I still to this day remember a core moment in my mind where I was like, this something has to give here. Like, I can't live like this forever. I cannot live hungry, changing my diets, kind of buying into these fad diets, having this toxic outlook on nutrition and food for the rest of my life. And it actually pains me that it took me so long to make that decision and to make that change. It really, really does, which I will chat about and touch on a little bit as well. Now, I didn't have any EDs or anything like that either. It was just that I had quite a bad relationship with food. And I do believe that I could have had a touch of some sort of body dysmorphia because that was kind of what steered it as well, how I looked. And if I didn't look good, or if I didn't think I looked good, if I thought I was gaining weight, or if I thought I was in a bad place or anything, food was the first thing that was slashed and that was literally taken away from me by myself. Like I would do it to myself. And it's crazy when I think about it now because it's like, sorry, food isn't something that you can just decide that you don't get to have or you do get to have. Like it's a necessity to live, which we will chat about as well. But I have had, and that's just what I want to kind of chat on there, is a very toxic relationship with food for many, many years of my life. And I have come out the other side. And that is why I do enjoy talking about this. But yes, so I have had quite a toxic relationship with food, and I don't want to get too deep into it here today, but we are going to surface level just have a chat about what is going on and why this is happening. Okay. So obviously, as we grow up, we're here watching TV programs. We all know the infamous TV programs that would literally slate people for being overweight and for having a bit of weight. I remember there was an Irish program. What was it called? I can't remember what it was called, but it was literally a program where I think it was every Saturday or one day a week it would air, and it would show someone who was trying to lose weight. It would show their lifestyle. It would have them on camera, and then it would come to their weigh in, and they would stand on the scales and weigh in. And like, if they didn't lose weight or if they gained weight, like they were annihilated on television. They were annihilated on television for not losing weight or for not doing good enough and all of the likes. And that was like, I genuinely feel like that was only about 8 years ago. I remember seeing this. And as well, just so many TV programs on the telly in general, like the American ones. Wow, they used to rip people to shreds with regards to weight, with regards to physique, and just with regards to kind of looking at the telly and who you used to see on the telly. It would be models, it would be these stick thin girls, it would be these unrealistic body shapes. And this is what we grew up seeing. Personally, this is what I grew up seeing. This is what I remember anyway. I remember looking at people on telly being like, I want to look like her. And it would be so unrealistic, especially with the body that I have. It would take a lot for me to look like these stick thin models that I was seeing on the telly. And, it was quite harmful as well because we were being told that this was good, people that were skinny, and this very unrealistic body shape for every single woman. This is what women should look like. And then we were being told that this is what you should not look like. And it was like a healthy, fit, normal body. And it was nearly being bashed because it wasn't in that stick thin bracket. And it is crazy when you think back now. Do you know where you used to see it a lot? And this hurts my heart when I remember this. Girl bands. There was always this thing within girl bands where there'd be like the curvier one. There'd be, when I think of Girls Aloud, even Little Mix, all like girl bands in general, when I think of that, there was always someone, Spice Girls, there was always, that was like the curvier one. And they used to call them the bigger one when really they were just a normal female body and they just weren't stick thin. And it is insane when I think back now and I remember this. And I'm like, that is what we grew up. That is what we grew up watching and listening to and seeing around us as well. And that's where, that is where it stems from because that is where women are told this is good and this is bad. This is what you should look like. This is what you shouldn't look like. And, it went from an area of course, we don't want to be unhealthily overweight. Like, no one wants to be unhealthily overweight where you can't live a life and you can't do things and, where it's affecting your health. But we went to an extreme nearly for a good few years there, especially as I was growing up. This is what I saw of unrealistic standards. There still is a lot of them around now. There still is a lot of these unrealistic standards and body shapes and things like that, but it's not as bad. What I find now what's happening is People are like getting surgery, and aesthetics are more like unrealistic, but not so much like body shapes and what you should look like with regards to your body in itself and like healthy kind of bodies. So we all probably remember like the Kate Moss era. Like, who doesn't remember that? Like, I even do, where models were just stick thin. They were everywhere. Everyone that you saw, like, even just people on television in general, would always look a certain way. Always. The Victoria's Secret models. Girls, I used to watch the Victoria's Secret shows, and I wasn't like a diehard fan or anything like that. But I literally used to watch it for motivation. I used to watch it to stop myself from eating. That is terrible. That is absolutely awful. Oh God, Lord heaven above, thank God I came out the other side. But yes, I used to watch it so that for at least a month after, I would keep replaying it on my phone, being like, no, I can't eat that, can't eat this, stay away from certain things. This is what I want to look like. This is how I want to look. And I would just on repeat watch the Victoria's Secret runway show to give myself motivation to not eat food, basically, to starve myself. And I even remember that there was a Victoria's Secret diet that came out at one stage showing you what the actual models ate. And it was lettuce leaves, like lettuce leaves. There was a very specific Victoria's Secret model salad. And when I tell you that it was lettuce, that is what it was. And I think it had like balsamic vinegar on it or something. And it was just insane what we were growing up with and what we were watching and what we were seeing. Like Weight Watchers, and I had two older sisters in the house, obviously, as I grew up. And look, I'm not saying that it was their fault because it's not at all, but I saw them going and bouncing from things like Weight Watchers to Slimming World to Curves, all these different diets under the sun. I saw them bouncing to and from and always struggling with their body image as well, which made me be like, oh, should I think like that too? Should I be doing things like that too? And yes, Weight Watchers was a big one in our house growing up because my dad used to as well do Weight Watchers every now and again. My dad actually loved, I don't know if anyone else remembers this one, the Atkins diet. The Atkins diet was holy grail in our house. And there was like a certain book for it as well. Couldn't eat carbs, God forbid. No carbs allowed, no cheese allowed, nothing like that. But this is where all these things came from. This is where all these toxic thoughts came from with regards to food, things being good, things being bad, from all of these diets that took a calorie deficit and made it their own and switched it up. When really, as we know now, it's just calories in versus calories out. But all of these diets and fad diets and these things kind of put a label on it and kind of tried to make it fancy and snazzy so that it looked different and that maybe you were losing weight. Amazing, but it wasn't sustainable either. Who in their right mind is never going to eat cheese or bread ever again? Who's going to do that? Okay. So obviously, yes, the Atkins diet and Weight Watchers was in the house as I grew up, and I was always seeing these things, the books, the meals, the Weight Watcher meals with certain calories and certain things in them, and things you couldn't have and things you could have, and like weird things that you could have and couldn't have, to be honest. And then as well as that, just I think as well growing up, the scales was a huge indicator as to if you were healthy or not healthy, or if you were, skinny, not skinny, if you were happy in your body or not. Like everything relied on the scales. And that is still something that trickles into everyday life now. I find for a lot of people, but that does definitely stem from way back when and years and years and years ago. I feel like we're getting better now at knowing like the kind of scales and that it doesn't actually dictate what we're doing and our journeys. We know this now, but I think that for years upon years, it was the only tool and method used. But we're coming out of that. We're slowly tiptoeing out of that. So yes, a huge place of where it all stems from is our childhood. What we were watching, what we were seeing, what we were literally just surrounded by on the telly as we grew up, people around us, our environment, what we listened to, music. It was insane. It was insane. So your outlook, right, and your relationship with food could literally be what's holding you back from so many things as well in life. If you want to, maybe change your physique or feel fitter, feel healthier, and just be in a better place in life in general, your relationship with food could genuinely be holding you back with that because you have unrealistic thoughts about food. You have toxic and negative thoughts towards nutrition and food, and that is never going to get you to where you want to be because you cannot live a life like that. You literally cannot live a life like that. And I know that as well because I went through that for so many years. And it wasn't until I came out the other side that I was like, okay, now I can actually start making changes. And now I can actually see a sustainable routine that I can keep hold of. This is a relationship as well that you will have forever. Okay. We are here to make sure we understand it and that we know and understand better so that we can actually do better as well. So I feel one of the most important things that we forget when it comes to food and nutrition is what it actually is for. What food is actually for, what it helps us for, why food is a necessity and what it's actually needed for. Because I think people genuinely these days just think food is a matter of what your physique looks like. So if you eat too much, you're going to gain weight. If you eat too little, you're going to lose weight. But there is so much more as to why we eat and what it's actually needed for. We need food for energy. Our bodies will literally not survive. You need energy, your body needs energy, your organs need energy, your brain needs energy, literally to survive. If you want to live, if you want to be on this earth breathing, literally, you need to eat. Like that is how important food is, literally. So we need energy, number one, and that comes from food. Literally, calories, the word calories literally mean it is energy. Like the calories we put into our body is the energy we put in. So that's always so important to know as well. I think that's number one when it comes to everything. Energy from the food that we get. We fuel ourselves with food for growth. Obviously, our body changes all of the time. And for growth, whether that's, actually like from a young age, whether that's, growing with regards to now, if we want to gain weight, gain muscle, if we want to get stronger, all of these things, we need food for growth. Okay. We also need food for nutrients. Of course, we all know this, that we need to obviously have a nutritious, nutrient dense kind of diet, a well balanced diet. And yes, we need food for nutrients and to actually allow us to feel good. Our skin, our hair, our nails, our actual body in general. And it's very important as well. Like, as we know, say, for example, you could be lacking a certain nutrient, you could be lacking in a certain kind of, vitamin, and a lot of them come from food. A lot of them come naturally from food. And that is really, really important to have a well balanced diet with that nutrition in mind. It helps with breathing, of course. It helps, obviously, breathing. It helps our heart and our organs in general. Digestion. Obviously, food really helps with our metabolism and our digestion in general if we just decide not to eat. And this is actually a huge one, because this is one that I struggled with for years. For years upon years, when I used to fluctuate between eating too much, no, sorry, too little, to then a little bit more, to then maintenance, to then too little again, starving myself, diet after diet, fad diets after fad diets, and then all of these restrictions all of the time. Honestly, my digestion went to absolute shite. Just like literally, excuse the pun there, because I do not mean that, but it literally went to shite. I was only thinking about this the other day. There used to be times where I did not go to the toilet for 4 days. Literally 4 days. I would praise the Lord above when if I would go to the toilet twice a week. That is how extreme it can be because you need food to actually move your metabolism, to have it working, for your digestion to actually be where it needs to be. And just saying, I go to the toilet probably once or twice a day now, and I am so proud of that. That is something I'm so proud of because I really fixed that as much as I could because that was not healthy. That was not healthy at all. It helps obviously repair and recovery within the body itself. And of course, it helps your immune system. Please remember how important it is to fuel your body, to give your body energy for your brain, your body itself, and your organs, but for your immune system as well. Like, think about it. Like, when you're sick, your body's under so much stress, and it needs that energy, it needs those nutrients, it needs that kind of recovery and that repair. Food. fuel. That is what your body needs. And these are the things that you kind of forget. Like, well, I think a lot of people kind of forget the importance of food and what it actually does for us. It doesn't just change how we look, it's not just about our appearance. It's not just how our body appears of how much food we eat or how little we eat. It actually is a necessity. It is something that we need to have for our body to run. And I don't just mean the bare minimum. Like you should be trying to have a well balanced, nutritious diet so that you are your fittest, healthiest, strongest self in that way. It shouldn't just be, eating the bare minimum to get by. Absolutely not, because I went through those stages as well, and that did not help me whatsoever. So, here are some tips now as well on how to gain kind of more of a healthy relationship when it comes to food itself. Okay. I would absolutely avoid extreme dieting if you're someone who has a very, very toxic relationship with food. Now, again, any of my girls, any of the team and my clients, we always talk about this. So I'll know exactly what's going on and we'll know where to start and we'll know what to do. But if anyone's listening to this and you have an extremely bad relationship with food, you should not be even thinking about dieting. You shouldn't be thinking about gaining weight, maintaining weight, or dieting. You shouldn't be thinking about weight. You shouldn't be thinking about body image whatsoever. Because what you should be thinking about is how to repair your actual relationship with food in order to push forward from there. So the first thing that you should actually be thinking about is how do I fix this relationship so that I can actually sustain a healthy relationship with nutrition and food for the rest of my life rather than just always hating it, being in this toxic cycle and not really knowing what to do about it. Make sure you have a set routine and you're having regular meals. Okay. So if you are in a bad spot with your food and, with your relationship with nutrition, the first thing that I would do is just be like, okay, am I having breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Do I skip them? What is my mindset towards that? Because personally, I remember myself when I was in these stages and I was in a very bad relationship with food, it would be a thing that I could only have 2 meals a day. I would only allow myself to have 2 meals a day, and they were small meals at that. I'm not saying that these 2 meals would fill me and then I'd be fine. I would be saying to myself, okay, I'll either have breakfast and lunch, or lunch and dinner, or breakfast and dinner. So there was no in between. I made sure that, I was on him too. I would be starving. I would be starving. And, it was very toxic in my head. Like I thought that having 3 meals a day was like the worst thing in the world. God forbid I actually fueled my body and I didn't feel hungry all of the time. God forbid. God forbid. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have 3 meals a day, but it's something really good to go off if you're trying to repair that relationship and if you're trying to get into a better routine with food and nutrition. Set out to having your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, especially your breakfast, okay? It's such an important meal. A lot of people skip it for some very strange reason, but it is genuinely what gets you started for the day and what has you going from the get-go. First thing in the morning, you wake up after a long sleep, energy is going to be a little bit lower, obviously, in the morning. And I don't mean 6 a.m. Okay. If it's the case that you don't have your breakfast until 10 a.m., that's fine. But just make sure that you're having your first meal and it's not at 2 p.m. in the day, where, yes, that is going to be lunch then. Okay. So, something to just take into consideration is to make sure you have a set routine with your meals and your meal times, because that will really, really help with regards to, getting over that hump of restricting yourself from meals and things like that in general. Now, it's completely up to you what they look like and what your meals look like, but this is just a really nice thing and a small step to take into consideration. If cravings are running high, make sure to keep them out of sight. Okay. So if you have a bad relationship with food and it's not necessarily with regards to restricting food, maybe it's to do with binge eating, maybe it's to do with binging in general. You just have zero willpower and zero discipline, and there is food around you that you love, and that if you do get your hands on it, it is gone within 5 seconds. Why is it in the house? Okay. Now, I'm not saying that you can never have these things again, but if there is a gigantic Cadbury's chocolate bar in the fridge, it's all you can think about. You have zero willpower, and you know for a fact you're going to eat that whole thing within 5 minutes. Do not have it in the fridge. Don't have it in the house. I know me personally, if there's biscuits in my house, I cannot have one biscuit. Like literally, I will sit down and I will have 20 biscuits. I'll have the whole packet. I would happily eat the whole packet. So I genuinely don't buy biscuits. And that's not because I can't. It's just because I'm like, why would I put myself in a position like that where I know I'm going to maybe actually go over my calories for the day, or I'm going to binge on these biscuits, or I'm going to have a hard time not thinking about the biscuits in the fridge. So I genuinely don't buy biscuits, and that's just something that I don't do unless I really, really want them. That's the thing. Unless I really want them, then I will, but they're not in the house all of the time. So if you're someone who really struggles with cravings, struggles with sugar, and struggles with binge eating, whatever it is, don't have it around you, don't have it in the house. Buy smaller packs, buy, the party packs and the miniature kind of size things, so that's easier to control these things and control what you're eating as well. Don't do it yourself. Why are you putting yourself in a position where you're going to eat these things, like where they're literally in front of you and they're easily accessible? Look at your stress and your sleeping pattern. Okay, so when it comes to nutrition, if it's the case again that you find that you're hungry all of the time, maybe, or that your appetite just isn't where it needs to be, it can definitely be down to stress and sleep. 100%. 100%. And stress and sleep come hand in hand, really, as well. So if you're very, very stressed out, it will more than likely mean that your sleeping pattern isn't at its best place. If you're not sleeping, it will more than likely mean that your stress is really high. So yes, cortisol levels as well could be high or could be very low, and this could be something that might be causing an effect on your appetite as well. And obviously then the relationship with food itself. Okay. This is a huge one. Avoid labeling food good and bad. I cannot fathom this one, okay? Because I did do this for my whole life. There would be good food and there would be bad food, and it would be the sense of I would be like, okay, so chocolate's bad, obviously has sugar in it. How dare I have that? Bread is bad, cheese is bad, and this all stems from those diets that I was talking about a while ago. Weight Watchers, the Atkins diet, Slimming World, Curves, all of these random things, because they did label foods in certain categories that you couldn't have certain things, you could have certain things. There was certain things that you could like mix in or have a certain way. Um, and it was just crazy because that is where that whole thing of labeling foods good and bad came from. When food is food, literally food is food. And as I've mentioned, well balanced, good, nutritious foods and meals and just a diet in general is what's good. Is where the goodness comes from. So you shouldn't be avoiding things or restricting things or labeling them as bad, because really your body needs all sorts of everything. Your body needs kind of a bit of everything. So, we don't label anything good or bad. And a huge thing with that is your mindset as well. If your mind is telling you this is good and this is bad, 1000% of the time, your mind is going to want the bad thing because it thinks that it can't have it. So, labeling it as that is only going to hinder, and it is not going to help you whatsoever. So, this is one that I just say to a lot of my clients when it comes to food in general. Plan ahead of time, okay? Because if you are in a place where you have goals when it comes to food, plan ahead. And it might not even be calorie related. It might not even be that you're in a calorie deficit or that you're in a calorie surplus. It might just be that you want to make sure that you're waking up and having good, nutritious meals. So plan ahead, know what you're going to eat, know what you're going to have the next day, that you're going to enjoy it, that you're excited for it, and it's well balanced, it's nutritious, and that you're in a good place with regards to food and being able to plan for it so that you know what you're going to have and you're not leaving yourself second guessing and stressed about food the next day. This one here is one that I always struggled with. Stop seeing food as a punishment. Stop seeing food as shameful or feeling guilty for eating certain things. This is something that I struggled with hugely as I grew up. Because there was definitely certain foods that I was like, I shouldn't be eating this, or oh my God, I feel so bad for eating this. I'd be crying over eating jellies or sugar or croissants and pastries. And it made me hate food. It actually made me not want to eat food because I was constantly feeling guilty for eating it. And it was just my mindset being in a very bad place with it as well. If you are seeing food as a punishment or, as in as a punishment for not eating certain things or to feel guilty for eating certain things or feeling shame for eating certain things, you are only going to make things worse. You're only going to make it more toxic. You're only going to make things worse. And I completely understand that you might have goals maybe that you're working towards and you just cannot get the discipline or willpower to get there. And yes, okay, you feel guilty for maybe eating something. Guilt means that the action has already been done. Okay. If you feel guilty for doing something, it means it's already done. You've already done it. You can't undo that. Okay. There's no point sitting there and feeling guilty. It's done. You've done it. You've eaten the thing. All you can do is push forward and just learn from these things. But never see food as something to feel guilty about or shameful about because it is not that deep. It is not that deep. As I've said, food is for energy, food is for fuel. Fuel is for growth, it's for your immune system. Food is to help you recover, to repair. Food is for so many more things than just how you look. And that is where the guilt and the punishment kind of comes from in your mindset because you're thinking about your physique and what you look like and what food does to how you appear, when that is not what we should ever be thinking about. We think of food as a form to fuel our bodies. And that is key in this. Key. Because that was where my mindset truly changed. I remember being 24 years old and I was like, if I want to actually train properly in the gym, if I want to actually change my physique and train with intention and to feel strong, fit, and healthy, I have to stop going through these fad toxic diets, starving myself, punishing myself, feeling guilty for certain things, labeling things as good and bad, being in kind of a very, very restrictive toxic cycle. Because this is not helping my performance. This is not helping my strength and my energy. And this is not helping me. This is not helping me. I took a step back and I said, I need to change. I need to change. And I really promised myself that I would do whatever it took. And it takes time. This is something that I think a lot of people don't realize, that it doesn't just happen over a week, over a month, over 2 months, even over 3 months. It took me a year, maybe two. I would say the guts of 2 years to truly be able to curve my mindset towards nutrition and to not ever look at food as good, bad, or the ugly. And it's crazy now because when I think back, or there's certain things that I'll sit down and eat, um, and I'll be like, oh my God, I would not have done this 4 years ago. I would not have sat down and had this packet of crisps after eating my dinner 4 years ago. Or I wouldn't have had all three meals in one day 4 years ago. Simple things. I wouldn't have had a bagel with my lunch 4 years ago. I wouldn't have had carbs with every meal, not fearing them 4 years ago. So it is crazy what you can do. It's like a whole new world when you do come out the other side and you do actually decide to change. Now, I talk a lot on obviously the restrictive side of relationship with food because that is my experience, but I'm also very aware that there's the other side of binging and having no discipline and willpower towards food and having that toxic relationship with food. And all of these things go for that too, because you have to be the one that decides to change. Nobody can do it for you. No one can change for you. No one can change your mindset. No one can change what you do. No one can change your actions. You have to be the person that says, okay, I actually really want to change how I think towards food here, because it all stems down to your mindset and it all stems down to how you are viewing food and your relationship with food. That, like, no matter what, whether it's restriction or overeating or binging, it all comes down to how you are viewing it and how you are literally in that relationship with food. So, mindset towards food, and this is obviously huge. We have been taught and told so many things regarding nutrition. And honestly, I don't blame anyone for not knowing right from wrong at the moment because there is so much information out there. One person says this, another person says that, Jimmy says this, Michelle says that. It is crazy the amount of information out there and how misleading it can be, and also how overwhelming it can be. So you're kind of like, oh my God, what do I believe or not believe? What am I meant to be doing or not doing? What should I eat or not eat? And therefore, your relationship with food can turn toxic or near it from listening to certain things online. Okay, there is so many things I see online, and I genuinely want to jump through the screen of my phone and tear it down from the internet because it's something that's so toxic, or it's something that's so alarming that I know that people will watch and take as Bible and take as truth. And that can be detrimental to people's mindsets and their relationship with food. So please just be so careful to what you're actually absorbing on social media and what you're taking in online because not everything is true. Okay, not everything is true. And it's very important to realize that a lot of people online actually have a very toxic relationship with food, and they're sharing their views on food and their kind of rights and wrongs and do's and don'ts, and their relationship is so toxic with food, and they're sharing that with you all, and you are all absorbing it, and you're taking that in, and then your relationship with food is also now becoming toxic because you're taking up this information, literally. It's time to break the patterns and to break the constant cycles, the stigmas that have been passed down to us from generation to generation. This is something that I feel so strongly about, like to my core. I will do anything that stops that cycle of thinking things are good and bad when it comes to nutrition. Thinking you have to restrict yourself, thinking you shouldn't eat a certain way, thinking you have to look a certain way, thinking that you have to be on a certain diet. All of these bad diets, all of these things that literally have to do with how you look. We're breaking that. Because what we have learned from this episode alone, what we have learned is that food is so much more than what it does to your physique. Food is so much more than just how it allows you to appear. Okay. And we need to be the ones as a generation, as you listen to this, we need to be the ones to make that change because there is younger eyes looking up at us, just like we were looking up at our siblings. We were looking at the telly. We were listening to things. We could hear things on the radio. We could see things around us, our environments, everything. Just as we were growing up in those toxic, awful environments surrounding nutrition, surrounding food, surrounding women and their bodies and how they should and shouldn't look and all of the likes. We don't want to be those toxic people now, and we want to break those cycles for the generations now growing up and for the generations now coming into nutrition, coming into food, coming how they think about food, how they think about nutrition and training and their bodies and everything of the likes. And honestly, this is a huge reason why I do what I do because I want the next generation to truly reap the rewards of us not wanting to pass down these toxic cycles. The next generation should be literally listening to us telling them how food is fuel, how food makes you feel good, how food is for growth, repair, recovery, to have you feeling fit, strong, and healthy, how it's for nutrients, how it helps your hair, your nails, your skin, not how it helps you be skinny, how it helps you maintain weight, gain weight, lose weight. Yes, of course, we all have goals, maybe with physique, and that's amazing. But you should only be really going into those goals, and you should only be dieting or not dieting if you wanted to gain weight if your relationship with food is A1. And one thing that I will say, and I know a lot of my girls and my clients as well that will come to me, is they won't even realize how bad their mindset and relationship was with food until they start working with me, until they start working with RCGC, and it actually starts to mend and repair itself because it wasn't too deep, but it still was quite toxic. Still was quite toxic. Like there's people that I will be on calls with or that I will literally start working with, and they'll tell me that they've been eating, 1,000 calories or 1,200 calories And I'm like, wait, what? It blows my mind that that's still a thing, that you are eating the same amount of calories as a 5-year-old toddler. Now, it completely depends on the person, and I understand that too, but majority, 98.99999% of women should never be eating that low of calorie intake. Never, especially for a lifestyle goal, especially if you want to build something sustainable and maintainable and something that you can live by. You should not be eating 1,200 calories. I have one client who actually has a little girl, and I remember her saying to me, I want to change my relationship with food because I never want my little girl to grow up and to see what I've seen, hear what I've heard, and have this relationship with food that I have now because I know it's not right and I know it's toxic and it shouldn't be like this. And that is something that we all need to take into consideration. That there is younger eyes looking at us, there is younger people and generations now coming up, and we do not want to be the toxic people that we were looking at and that we saw. And that was something that clicked with me when I was 24 years old. And I said, nope. My nieces were growing up in this world, and I said, absolutely not. I am not having them looking at me as a role model and restricting myself, starving myself, labeling things as good and bad, not being able to eat certain things, never eating carbs, fearing certain foods, literally in the most toxic of places and cycles with regards to nutrition. I was not allowing that. And that's when I really decided to change. Your mindset towards nutrition needs to be switched from I can't, I won't, less, 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 less. And you need to switch it to what does my body actually need? What allows my body to actually feel good? How will my body actually reap the rewards of what I'm doing? Your mindset needs to see food for what it actually is, for energy, for strength, for your digestion metabolism, for repair and recovery. Your body is reaping the rewards of you in a well balanced, nutritious diet. Okay? Starvation mode is not helping us. Binging is not helping us. Okay? And it is, and this is the thing, this is all surface level when it comes to relationships with food. Okay? I'm literally tipping on the tip of the iceberg here. Okay? Just because I want to really change that narrative slightly, as much as we can through this podcast episode, of how you should not be viewing food as just how your body looks. Food literally has you functioning. It is what allows you to function. If you want to feel fit, healthy, strong, if you want to actually make changes in your physique, if you actually want to go to the gym and feel good, it is through food that we do these things. It's through nutrition that we do these things. And having a toxic, unhealthy relationship is not helping us with this. So, I'm just going to touch on a few misconceptions when it comes to food, which I'm kind of laughing at to myself because all of which I strongly believed for about 15 years of my life. So that is amazing. But every single one that I can see here, I'm like, yep, yep. All of those I would have Bibled my whole life. So, number one being that you can't eat past a certain time. 100%. I would not eat past 6 p.m. And if I did, I would feel awful for it. And, I would blame it on if I ate like at like 7 or 8 p.m. and I woke up the next day and I didn't feel good, or if I just didn't feel my best self, I would blame it on the fact that, I had dinner at 7 p.m. Lies. You don't need to cut off food at a certain time. If you eat at 7 p.m., that is absolutely fine. If you eat at 8 p.m., that is absolutely fine. You do not have to stop or have certain meals at a certain point of the day. Like you don't have to stop at 6 p.m. and then never eat after that until the next day. That you don't have to do that. That you cannot eat carbs. And let's be real, this is one that we have all been through. Everyone deems carbs as bad at some stage of their life. Everyone cuts out carbs at some stage of their life. And a huge reason for that is because carbohydrates, they are more calorie dense than say protein. Okay? It's not the end of the world though, because it just means that we have to be more wary of the amounts that we eat. but it doesn't mean that we cut them out at all. Okay. I used to genuinely believe that bread, anything to do with carbs, pasta, cereal. I remember growing up, I loved cereal and I would only allow myself to have it once a week. It would be my treat. I'd have cereal once a week because, God forbid, I had it for my breakfast every day because I could not have carbs. Now I have cereal every single day. I am still obsessed with this, and that's one of those things that I think back and I'm like, God, we have come so far in our mindset because I used to remember once a week it would be a treat where I'd have some cereal and that was that. And even at that, I used to feel awful for having it. And as well, it would be the serving of 30 grams. Do you know the little tiny boxes, the little like mix and match boxes that you used to be able to get? It'd be a serving of 30 grams of one of those. It would not feel a dent in me. I know that like an average serving is like 30 g, but like no, I'm sorry, I could not live off that now. I would still be starved. Another thing there is fasting. You hear about this a lot where people fast. Maybe, they only eat a certain window of the day. So maybe eat between like 12 and 5 p.m. and then you don't eat at all around that, which I don't know, like each to their own. Maybe it works for certain people, and I'm not here to say like that that's wrong, but it's not needed. That's what I'm here to say. I'm here to say that you don't need to do that. You do not need to fast. Fasting is kind of weird. Like you should just be having 3 meals a day, like, having a well-balanced, nutritious diet. Like I don't know why anyone really would want to fast. You do not need to fast whatsoever. This one here I kind of laughed at when I remembered, but the smashed banana versus a normal banana. Anyone here that's ever done, I think it was Slimming World or known anyone to ever do Slimming World, they used to say that you could have as many and as much smashed banana as you wanted, but you could not have a normal whole banana. And that still to this day blows my mind. I don't really know the science behind it, don't really care for the science behind it, because if you want to have a banana, you do not need to smash it. Have a banana, please. Another one is the less, less, less mindset. Thinking that the less you eat, the better. And this is where that kind of toxic relationship with lower calorie intake comes from. So people think, oh, okay, so if I eat 1,000 calories a day or 1,200 calories a day, then obviously I'm going to lose weight and I'm just going to keep slashing it and bringing it down and down and down. You're starving. Your body's going into literally survival mode. It does not know what's going on. You will hit so many plateaus, so many walls. You will not see the changes you want to see if you are constantly focusing on eating less and eating less and eating less. And as well as that, you will not get very far because your energy is going to like literally plummet through the floor. You're not going to be able to sustain it, and it's not going to be a lifestyle that you can actually live by if you are always trying to eat less and less and less. Okay. Another thing there is that, like, your body, as we were saying, needs fuel and needs food. So I don't know why anyone on this earth would put themselves through those extremely, and I mean extremely restrictive low calorie diets for no reason. Because as soon as you start eating again, as soon as you start eating more again, your body's just going to pick this up and it's going to start storing what it needs to store because it's afraid of its life that you're going to go into starvation mode again. Fats are bad for you, which I still think people think this because they're called fats. And as I mentioned, you need a well balanced, nutritious diet. Fats are not bad for you. If anything, they are probably one of the most important macronutrients that we have. They're all so important. That's the thing. But I think fats get left behind and people don't actually understand how important they are. Like extremely important. And we are never leaving them behind and we're never cutting them out. Same as carbs, we're never cutting out carbs or fats. They are both just as important, if not more, as protein. Okay. Protein is not the only MVP. It is very, very important and it's an amazing macronutrient for us, but it comes hand in hand. It's protein, carbs, and fats. The three of them work together. This is the point. This is another one that I've actually heard a few times. And some calls that I'm on, some people might say this to me in my DMs, little things in general. And I actually get it as a question in a lot of question boxes as well when it comes to burning the calories that you just ate in the gym. Okay. So, say for example, you have a bar of chocolate and you're like, oh my God, I have to go to the gym and burn that off. So, you eat a bar of chocolate that's 200 calories, and then you go to the gym and you do a workout and burn 200 calories. That does not correlate like that. Okay. You did not burn off that chocolate bar. The chocolate bar has barely even broken down into your metabolism, into your system. Okay, it just does not work like that. You do not know what you're burning and how your body is burning it. So please do not take that as Bible and that is literally that chocolate bar that you just burnt off. Or for example, you maybe had a takeaway and then you literally the next day wake up and you go to the gym and you run 5K, you do a huge workout, you all of this cardio. It does not matter because it does not correlate the same way. It's the food that you're eating that is more important than say going to the gym and trying to burn it all off again. So stop using that as a method because it is an extremely toxic mindset to have. And then the last one there as well is that like sugar, say chocolate, jellies, crisps, anything like that is bad for you. And obviously that you shouldn't be having it, which absolutely negative no. For me personally, I have to have a sweet treat every day, literally every day. And any of my clients know, any of the girls know that I am all here for if they fit into what we can, if we're making sure that we're hitting every other target and that we have a well nutritious, balanced diet. Absolutely, we're having a sweet treat every day, if not two. If we can fit in two, we're fitting in two. And this is why it's so important because why wouldn't you? If you enjoy these things, absolutely add them in. We are not restricting, we are not labeling things as good and bad. We are in a good mindset, good positive mindset towards food. And that means that we can incorporate chocolate in. We can incorporate some jellies in if we wish, but we also want to be mindful of this. And a huge thing that I always say is it's not exactly what you eat that matters. It's not what you are eating, it is how much of it you are eating, especially when it comes to maybe goals that you might have. But huge mindset switch to have there is that nothing should be restricted. Nothing is bad for you. Nothing is something you cannot have. Maybe if you want to, just maybe have a look at the amounts that you're having and have it in moderation, if that is the case. And this is something extremely important that I want to leave you all on as well. Your relationship with food is one of the most important relationships you will ever have in your life. It's one of the most long-standing relationships you will ever have in your life. You have had this relationship from day one, and you will literally have this relationship for the rest of your life. You can't break up with food. You can't, go on a break, put a pause on it, have a bit of a breather. It is every day. This relationship takes work. It takes time. I know because I've gone through it as well. I've gone through that mindset change. I've gone through that change of wanting to do better, wanting to be better, and wanting to change this up because it was not right what I was doing and the thoughts that I was having. And this is why I'm here with you all, making sure that if you really want to change, you are making that change and you're able to make that change. Your relationship with food is one of the most important relationships you will ever have in your life. It is one of the longest relationships you're ever going to have in your life. And it is one of the most stable relationships that you're ever going to have in your life because you can't break up with food and it will not break up with you either. But yes, make sure it is a healthy one. Make sure it is a positive one. And that is on you. Making that change, deciding to make that change, and deciding to create a more positive, healthier outlook when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to food, is on you. As always, Queens, thank you so much for being here and for listening along. And if you have made it this far, do not forget to tag, share, and comment, as I absolutely love seeing you all and sending over all of the virtual hugs your way. Your support honestly means the world to me. And the amount of time and effort I obviously put into bringing this information to you all and to this podcast in general, it is always so nice seeing you all obviously support and listen. And thank you for that always. I am extremely, extremely grateful. Oh, and just in case you ever forget, if there's ever a day you're feeling down, or simply just don't believe in yourself, always remember, I am over here rooting for you, and I'm always over here believing in you.